Season 2 of Tim Burton's Wednesday just ended, and I wanted to talk about the way in which, in this new iteration, he explores dysfunctional motherhood. The first season of Wednesday, starring Jenna Ortega as Wednesday, looked at Wednesday's journey as a teenager who is on her own from her parents for the first time, and it really focused on friendships and an amazing love triangle, and of course her discoveries of crimes and horrors. But it was a story about this teen figuring out who she is once she's no longer tied to her parents, not living with them, even though her parents had gone to Nevermore, and a lot of the story does have to do at the end with her parents, but they were side characters. This time, the story really is a family story. We have Wednesday's brother Pugsley is now at Nevermore, and her mom, Morticia, played by the fabulous Zeta-Jones, gets asked to help run a gala. When she's asked to run the gala, Morticia is also invited to come and live at Nevermore. And suddenly, Wednesday finds herself at school, but basically at home because her parents are there. And one of the key conflicts for her as a character has always been that she and her mother are both psychics, but her mother is a dove and she is a raven. The doves see goodness. They're like the good witch. All they see are the good things, but the ravens have a much darker side. And that conflict between them is a fabulous mother-daughter conflict, because even though they share the same gift, their understanding of the world is completely different. Even if Morticia also wears black and she, there's a bit of a dark side to her, she's at the end of the day this very loving optimist, and Wednesday is this dark and brooding sort of pessimist. Though, of course, if you're trying to solve crimes, there is a deep optimistic side to you because, my God, you think you're going to find the answers. Wednesday overuses her psychic powers to the point that she loses them. They get taken away from her. And the quest that she is given is that in order to regain her powers, which she must do because her best friend Enid will die otherwise, she has to come to terms with her mother. They have to figure out how to understand and love each other, which is about as terrifying as it can get for Wednesday. Forget love triangles. Having to come to terms with this woman that is so much like her and yet so different in the way that they see things is a wonderful quest for our protagonist. And of course, as the show goes on, what we realize is that her mom might be a dove, but she has all sorts of dark secrets in her past that have guided who she is despite this very light demeanor. And she's not lying. Morticia's not lying. Morticia is, in fact, a very loving and optimistic character, but she also has been involved in all sorts of crazy stuff in her past, not by her doing, actually. She's always like accidentally involved in these things, but all the work that she has done to hide these secrets and the horrific repercussions that these secrets have had for herself and for her children are something that at the end bring them together. So the season does a beautiful job at getting us to think about the fact that even if our personalities are different, even if our outlooks are not the same and we feel in conflict, we can, especially in a horror comedy like Wednesday at the end be tied by the awful secrets and crimes that have brought our family together. Season 2 of Wednesday, which explores dysfunctional motherhood, is not just bound to mothers and children. It's also looking at generations of dysfunctional motherhood. So in comes in Grandmama Frump, who is played by Joanna Lumley from Absolutely Fabulous. And she is absolutely fabulous at this. And what we end up with is that Wednesday is a raven, Morticia is a dove, and Grandmama is a raven. So we have, as often happens by the way in real life, things skip a generation and you end up being sandwiched by people who are completely unlike you. That would be Morticia. So the sweet and darling optimist with some dark secrets finds herself trying to navigate these two really complicated relationships between her daughter and her mother, who is the wealthiest of all Nevermore alumni. She does all sorts of work with bearing people, and she has all this money, and she's estranged from Morticia for the most part. There's also this, they keep telling us about this daughter named Ophelia, who is Morticia's sister and Wednesday's aunt, who's clearly also a raven and who has disappeared. She's been gone for 20 years. We don't know where she's at. So what we have with this season is that they're trying to look at what happens across time in terms of these conflicts and how they keep coming back and how they affect relationships. And of course, divide and conquer. The two ravens, right, grandmother and granddaughter, come together in order to slightly torture the poor dove as the show goes on. But it turns out, and there's a very important scene, I won't give anything away, but in the last episode where the three of them must hold hands around a table, they have to put it all behind them so that they can figure out how to save their family. It's a comedy, you know, they're gonna save their family. That's the beauty of watching a comedy, even in horror, that even if things go horribly wrong, they never go wrong enough that there will be some truly awful tragedy going down. But the season adds a whole level of depth to Wednesday's development, as she's always seen herself as fascinated and much more like her grandmother than she is like her mother. She's seeing a future version of herself that might not be what even Wednesday Addams wants. This level of secrecy and isolation, and it's a wonderful mirror into her future. And of course, families being what they are, it's not like everybody's gonna keep holding hands and hugging and changing who they are. But the season really helps set up a future season 3 in which all of these personalities are going to have to continue to work together to solve the mystery of Ophelia. Season 2 of Wednesday explores dysfunctional motherhood not only through our main family, but also through the parallel families that they have around them. And in the first season, Wednesday found herself deeply in love with Tyler, played by Hunter Doohan, who turned out to be a terrifying Hyde, like a true monster. Controlled, by the way, by Christina Ricci's character. So the original, well, not the original Wednesday, the second iteration of Wednesday. And at the end of season 1, she defeats him. He ends up, we find out, in a mental institution. But one of the big stories of season 2 is Tyler coming together with his mother, whose name is Francoise, and she is played by Frances O'Connor, and his mother, whom was one of the reasons why he was such a mess in season 1, because she had been missing from his life, turns out had been left in the same institution as he is now locked in. She's also a Hyde. And one of the stories that the show explores is the reconciliation between son and mother, and the darkness that comes with the fact that she has been locked up for 20 years, but she's also, it's her genetic makeup that also makes him a Hyde, but she was not there to help him figure out how to navigate what it's like to be somebody who basically has the ability to become a monster. So much of the season, in their part of the season, is her trying to figure out how to become his new master, because male Hydes must have a master, otherwise they fall apart, whereas female Hydes are able to be their own masters. But the masters are not like the sweetest of people to have in charge of you. So it's a dark motherhood. Like, she's like, I made you pancakes, and he's like, I don't want pancakes, and she's like, she slaps him, and she's like, you will eat these pancakes. So it's this version of a mother who's working, she's deeply dysfunctional because she had to deal with being a monster, and then she had to deal with being locked up. And she also has, they do not say this in the show, but her brother Isaac and her, there's like some borderline incestuous, the way that they portray it is very incestuous. So like, we have this person, this mother who has gone through it all, and a lot of it has ended up affecting her son, and she's trying to save him, but she's also pretty monstrous in the way that she does it. Wednesday being a comedy with an optimistic streak, even this monstrous mother ends up, despite all the dysfunction in her past and in her present, displaying some of these grand notions that we have about what mothers should do for their children. We'll see how it works out for Tyler in season 3. Season 2 of Wednesday explores dysfunctional motherhood, not only through its main plot, but also through its side plots. And one of the side plots that has been developing since season 1 is Bianca, who is played by Joy Sunday, who is a siren. And sirens have the ability to, if they remove this necklace, no, like this one, speak to people and have them do whatever the siren says, and then they also say, and you will remember none of what happened, and then the person doesn't know. So they basically have the ability to control people. And Bianca, who's a scholarship student, we later find out is the daughter of Gabrielle, played by Gracy Goldman, and Gabrielle is involved with this great scandal. One of the wonderful things about Tim Burton's whole oeuvre, especially the better offerings in his oeuvre, and about this show, is looking at what we think is monstrous and doing it with compassion, and not just the creatures but their actions, right? Why are these terrible things being done by someone? And in the case of Bianca and Gabrielle, the show really gives us a very loving look at just how complicated being a siren human is, being a daughter, being a mother, and just how difficult it is to repair those relationships while trying to deal with the repercussions of everything we've done. So that's it. That's Dysfunctional Motherhood in season 2. I can't wait for season 3. I am really hoping that it doesn't take them whatever 3 years or whatever it took last time, 2 years, because it's a beautiful show and it has a lot of heart and it's whimsical and fun, and it deals with some pretty profound topics in a really fun yet deep way. So tell us your thoughts. Did you watch season 1? Did you watch season 2? Do you have any thoughts on dysfunctional motherhood, either from the show or your own experiences? And please like, comment, share, subscribe, and go be fabulous.